Welcome to Creation Magazine Live, and this is the TV program that summarizes the information you'll find in Creation Magazine. So what are we talking about today?
That's right. This is an article entitled Electric DNA. So two things that people normally don't associate with each other, electricity and DNA. Volume 29, number 2. This is from back in 2007. And written by Dr. Jonathan Sarfati, down with our U.S. office. Creation Magazine has shown how DNA is the ultimate information storage molecule in the universe. And if you go to creation.com, you know there's a lot of the previous articles in the magazines from years past are actually on the website.
They're archived, yeah.
It's 30 years of creationist research on creation.com. Lots of information there. So he's talking about these previous articles that have talked about DNA as this amazing information storage mechanism. You can look those up there at creation.com. We also showed how cutting-edge discoveries refute the idea of junk DNA, which doesn't code for proteins, showing that this has an amazing array of functions that we are only just beginning to learn about. Dr. John Maddock, a leading researcher into DNA function, proposes that junk DNA acts like an advanced computer operating system. More recently, he lamented how the idea that non-protein coding DNA was just junk, the idea that it was just junk, had greatly harmed science.
Right.
So, and that idea didn't come from creation. Didn't come from creationists.
No, creationists wouldn't believe that there's a bunch of junk that God created, right?
The idea came from, well, we've evolved from all these previous organisms, and this is the leftover instructions from when we used to be worms and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's not necessary. It's just leftover. The failure to recognize, this is a quote, the failure to recognize the full implications of non-protein coding DNA may well go down as one of the biggest mistakes in the history of molecular biology.
And that's an expert in his field talking about this.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. So here's another section in this article: electric protection of the DNA. Let's read on to discover what this is about. Another intriguing property is how DNA in cells conducts electricity. DNA is easily damaged. Some chemicals, including free radicals, attack DNA by stealing an electron from, or oxidizing, in other words, one of the bases, the chemical letters of the DNA code. The resulting electron hole can hop along the DNA, behaving like a positive electrical current. So now you've got electrical current going along the DNA.
Right.
We already reported that some of the junk DNA comprises pairings between the letters in the DNA, A and T, the bases adenine and thymine. And this blocks the damaging electrical current. These pairings act as insulators or electronic hinges in the circuit to protect essential genes from the electrical damage from free radicals attacking a distant part of the DNA. More recently, Jacqueline Barton of the California Institute of Technology has shown that DNA also uses electrical properties for protection. At the edges of some genes, there is a string of G letters, the base guanine. They readily absorb the electron hole. So the electron hole moves along until it reaches this string of G's. This deflects the damage from the parts of the DNA that codes for proteins.
So this is kind of like me having a surge protector on my computer, so to speak.
It's sort of like that, yes. Yeah, as a way of understanding it. Yeah, it's sort of like that. A charge moves along and it's damaging, or it could cause damage.
Right.
And there's something in the DNA that neutralizes that.
Right. Which indicates design, because obviously the reason I have a surge protector on my computer is because I've either experienced before that, you know, I get a lightning strike and my computer blows up, or somebody at Future Shop told me when I bought my thing and said, you might want to get a surge protection because blah, 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 and you're going to destroy. So that all requires previous knowledge of something bad that could happen, right? And an evolutionist would have to explain this somehow as just, well, this protective mechanism just evolved.
It's a benefit, and natural selection selected for it and stuff, and that's no doubt what they're saying.
Yeah.
Our cells have elaborate machinery to repair DNA, but with 3 billion letters worth of information in every cell, there's a lot to scan for errors. However, unbroken DNA conducts electricity. There's another point in this article. It conducts electricity while an error blocks the current. Now, Dr. Barton has found that some repair enzymes exploit this. One pair of enzymes locks onto different parts of the DNA strand. One of them sends an electron down the strand. If the DNA is unbroken, the electron reaches the other enzyme and causes it to detach, i.e., this process scans a region of DNA between them, and if it's clean, there's no need for repairs.
Huh.
So now it's not only that the bad electrons, if you want to call them that, the problem, the potential problem that could damage the DNA.
Yeah.
There's something there to get rid of that. There's actually little repair things that come along, and they send a charge along to check if it's damaged.
So it's like your computer when you're hitting system scan or something like that, or it's checking for errors, right? So that's basically what this is doing.
That's sort of what it's doing.
And it's using electricity to do it. So it fires it down. Oh, there's no problem here. Don't need to repair. That way you're not repairing stuff that doesn't need to be repaired.
Right. But if there is a break, the electron doesn't reach the second enzyme. This enzyme then moves along the strand until it reaches the error and fixes it. Amazing. This all came about by chance, of course.
According to the evolutionists.
The mechanism of repair seems to be present in all living things from bacteria to man. Such ingenious repair machinery must have been present in life right from the beginning, otherwise life could not have survived the breaks in its DNA.
Right. Which gives a huge problem, because this is what I'm noticing more and more with these new discoveries. Oh, it's in the simplest life form. It's in the simplest life form.
Right.
Guess what? There's no such thing as a simple life form.
Nothing simple. That's
Nothing
living.
is simple that's living. And so this concept that this simple thing came together and then evolved and became more sophisticated and more complicated, if it's right back there in bacteria, that concept is just a false concept. People should just throw that right out. There's no such thing as a simple living thing.
Simple life, yes. As scientists discover more of the intricate design of life, we see how we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And that's the end of the article.
Yeah.
And it's just, here's a new discovery. There's electricity, or in any case, single electrons, that are being used. They can be damaging, but there's a repair mechanism, and then they're actually being used by other repair mechanisms to find problems.
Jonathan highlighted a problem here, the fact that this so-called junk DNA, when they sequenced the human genome and they found out that there was very little of it that actually, was coding for proteins. They said, well, what's all this stuff? Oh, it must just be junk. Well, that's a throwback to another concept called vestigial organs, which we've talked about before in different shows, which just means, oh, well, your appendix, it's a useless leftover from your evolutionary past. You just get rid of it. They used to talk about over 100 vestigial organs, so to speak. Well, that's a false concept brought about by the theory of evolution. It's actually harmful for science, because then when you don't think anything's useful, you don't really go digging much more. Well, they did the same thing with junk DNA. Oh, we don't know what it's for? Must be junk from our evolutionary past. That's a wrong... Evolution actually leads you down a wrong way of thinking as a scientist because of what you believe about history, and yet, okay, we keep digging, and guess what? We overturn that, and
it was highlighted right here in the article by this evolutionist. Right? The failure to recognize the full implications of, and he's talking about non-protein coding DNA, what used to be called junk, may well go down as one of the biggest mistakes in the history of molecular biology.
That's right.
And that's an evolutionist saying that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't creationist thinking that led to this idea of junk DNA.
That's right.
It's exciting to be a Christian. It really is.